Well, we are reading from the Mandukya Upanishad. This is our online study number 12 on chapter number 1. We are in the second part of the introduction of our self-inquiry. Last time we said that was the first part, and hopefully we will enter the seventh mantra at the end of our discussion today. So almost one more class on this introduction to the seventh mantra. This is a wonderful mantra, and as I said, this is the gist of all the Upanishads, and this is the gist of Mandukya Upanishad. And this is what we call self-inquiry. In the Vedantic tradition, self-inquiry has been discussed at various places in different Upanishads. But here is the source of that self-inquiry. So it is wonderful to go through it. In our last meeting on 30th August, we discussed, among many things, the question was, do we remember that we are consciousness, different from the body, different from all outside world and inside world. We remember that we are there, we are conscious, but do we remember that we are different from everything that is added to us? So you may recall in one of our earlier classes, we said that you have to count gold as the fourth. When we were talking about the three ornaments, the bangle, the ring and the necklace. So while analyzing their reality, we said that we have to count gold as the fourth. But you must have noticed that in our last class, I said that you should not count it as the fourth. A big contradiction. No, it is not a big contradiction because the Upanishads has said so. So you remember that when I say that the Upanishad has said so, you have to accept it because the Upanishad is the pramana or the testimony or authority in respect of transcendental data. Okay, so that was our agreement, and that is how we plan to read the seventh mantra. We have to understand that our experiences, empirical experiences, they have a limit. And we said that there is a limit of our mind also, which is called a closure. So there is a limit. So beyond that, what happens? Those are beyond the experiences of most of us. Okay, some saints and sages, some realized soul, they know what that is, but we do not know. Most of us do not know. That is why we have to use the data from the transcendental source, and that is nothing but the Upanishads. So I said when we say the Upanishad has said so, then over. You can't argue about that. So it is a contradiction which you find in the Upanishads. Okay? This Upanishad has said that it is the fourth. This data is indisputable. But please do not think that I misled you or confused you. We will see soon that both counting the Turyam as fourth and again not counting it as fourth have been told by the Upanishad itself. We will see soon that both counting the gold as the fourth and again not counting it as the fourth have been told by the Upanishad itself. So I take my hands off. I should not be blamed. I don't know. Let the Upanishad tackle this dispute. Sounds familiar? Yes. This is how we pass the buck. Let the Upanishad tackle the dispute. And precisely that's what the Upanishad is going to do now. It will tackle this dispute. Let us look into it. When I said that gold is not identical with any particular ornament, and at the same time it is not different, the meaning will be, I am going to talk about gold which is not identical and also not different from all the three ornaments. But it is the very thing which is called a bangle, which is called a ring, which is called a chain. This gold is available in all the three. And this gold is not apart from all the three, not outside all the three. But it is not identical with any one of them, because it can remain without them. Do you understand the logic? The gold can be identical with a ring because the next moment it can take another form which will be called a chain. So, or it may not take any form at all. Still it will remain gold. So, you may name many gold ornaments, still the comparison will remain the same. It is different from the three because it is not limited by any one of them. Because once you use the gold to make the ornament called bangle, bas over. You cannot reshape it into any other shape. You cannot rename it with any other name. No. Because it is not owned by any of them, even all of them. At the same time, it is not away from the three in time and space. When you see the bangle, it is with the bangle. And when you don't see the bangle, it is still there, not with the bangle. So it is with the bangle, at the same time not with the bangle. So you call it another one, not the bangle. If the Upanishad says that the gold is different from all the three, then you may look around to see where it is. But don't look around, look inside them. It is not away from them in space and time. Then you could have said, it is not here but there. It is not available now, but it will be available later in a different state, different time. Do you get the logic? If it is different from the bangle, then it is not here with the bangle. So it is somewhere else. Gold is somewhere else. Gold will be available sometime. You have to walk, you have to drive, like that. So, time and space will have a big role on that if you say it is different from it. You cannot also say that gold is not there in the ornament. in any time, in any past, present or future time. It is always there. So you cannot say it is different from the bangle, chain and ring. At the same time, you cannot say that it is identical with any one of them or with all of them. What a peculiar situation. Very, very confusing indeed. Then what is it? Well, take the bangle. The bangle is a bangle because of its name, form and use. Nama Rupa Vyavahara, they say in Sanskrit. These three, name, form and use, together are called the bangleness of the bangle. Bangleness of the bangle. Please remember this suffix ness. When you remove the bangleness from the bangle, what remains? The gold remains. Now, following the same equation, you may ask, when you remove gold, what is left out? Can you say that what remains is the bangleness? No. Without gold there is no bangle, then what about bangleness? You cannot say that. That bangleness remains. Because the bangleness or name and form of the bangle are no more there if the gold is removed. Similarly, when you remove the waking state from the consciousness, what remains? Consciousness remains. When you try to remove consciousness from the waking state, what remains? The state or the states. Can you say that? No. When you remove the substance, what remains? Nothing remains. Because the bangleness cannot stay without the gold. Similarly, the states cannot stay without consciousness. Well, you will be missing a big thing if you follow this logic as I am leading you. So let me clarify it for your satisfaction, my dear Vishwa. Who is this Vishwa? Last time I told you that you, my dear listener, you are Vishwa if you are still awake, hopefully so. Vishwa is your name in the waking state, and hopefully you are awake since you are listening to the discussion. You are Vishwa. Any one of us is Vishwa. So let me repeat the logic. Vishwa or the waker means the waking state plus consciousness. Right? This we have already learned. We have learned it so many times. Now when you remove the waking state from the consciousness, from Vishwa, what remains? Vishwa was waking state plus consciousness. Now you remove waking state, consciousness remains. Consciousness. When you try to remove consciousness from the waking state, what remains? The state remains, the waking state remains. Can you say that? No. Because when you remove the consciousness, then nothing remains. It is no more waking state. This is very, very correct if you need logic to satisfy you. See, that logic does not always satisfy you. Even it seems to be going very straightforward and correctly. But ultimately the Upanishad will tell you, you cannot say nothing remains. Why? You are Vishwa, suppose, equal to consciousness plus the waking state. You may say I minus my waking state equal to consciousness, because I am consciousness. Right? Fine. You have understood it correctly. Fine. Now you say my waking state minus I equal to what? Nothing. If I am not there, whose waking state it is? Nothing. It is logically true. Because if you remove gold from the bangle, then the bangle does not remain. If you remove gold from the bangle becomes what? Nothing. So nothing remains. This is my logic. Do you get this point? If you remove gold from the bangle becomes zero. The bangle becomes nothing. Could you follow the logic? See, this is a very intricate logic. Suppose you remove all fabric or cotton from a cloth, from a shirt. Will the shirt exist? The shirt exists no more. So, what did we say? Nama, Rupa, Vyavahara. Vyavahara is not there. You cannot put on a shirt after that if you remove all the fabric from the shirt. So, utility is gone. So, the cloth becomes, or the shirt becomes nothing. Do you get the point now? I am trying to prove that the bangle has no value without the gold. Correct? So when I remove the gold from the bangle has zero value. That means the bangle does not exist. That means the bangle becomes nothing. I think you understand, or you understood my point. The names and forms have got their realness or reality in the ornament, in the gold also. So the name and form are nothing. That is of zero value. This is the logic. If you are understanding it the way I am trying to explain it to you, then you are in a wonderfully convincing what? Trap. It's a trick. You are tricked, you are led, you are misled. You have been tricked to fall into this wonderful logical trap. There are some philosophers who would argue this way, and they are very, very convincing. Therefore, the task of leading you out of this trap by the hand is what is the central theme of Vedanta, of the Mandukya Upanishad. Now let me restate this logic. I will not do much now. I will just replace one word and you will know the answer. Yes, you will know the sacred secret of Vedanta in a moment. Vedanta is called Rahasya, Upanishad is called Rahasya Vidya, a secret knowledge. Why is it secret? Because it is sacred. Sacred things cannot be vulgarized like any other ordinary thing. It has its sacred value. One should know how to keep it a secret to one's own self. I have now spent quite some time with the same logic, going round and round. This is called chakrika in logic. Chakrika Nyaya means you go round and round the same circle, in the same circle, not reaching any end. You might be wondering why I was thinking that you do not understand what meaning I was trying to convey or drive at. I am sorry for that. There is a benevolent purpose behind this lengthy argument. The understanding here is so crucial, so vital, so fundamental to self-realization. What way did I argue or use the logic? I said like the following: when we remove gold from the bangle does not remain a bangle any further. This is true. You know, I know. So what wrong understanding did I express? Its bangle value becomes zero. The bangle value of the bangle becomes zero. That means its value becomes nothing. Now let me restate it. Suppose you remove gold from the bangle, what happens to the bangle? The mathematical answer will be the bangle becomes nothing. No. Just concentrate and grasp the meaning of the sentence. The bangle becomes nothing. Just let me stress another word, then you know what I want to say. I said the bangle becomes nothing. Nothing is stressed. Now let me do a different stress here. The bangle becomes nothing. Not the bangle becomes nothing, but the bangle becomes nothing. In one of our earlier class, we have done this exercise. The bangle becomes nothing is a wrong sentence. The sentence will be, the bangle becomes gold. The bangle goes back to gold. It arose from gold. It goes back to gold. If you remove bangleness, what remains? Gold remains. The gold was always there with the bangle. If you allow the bangle to disappear, still the gold remains. Does it really become gold? No, it was gold all the time. The bangle was gold all the time. It is gold even when the bangle is not there. It seemed that I tricked you, but actually speaking, the logic is very subtle here. Let me explain it. The bangleness of the bangle is gone. Name, form and utility, that is bangleness. That is gone. But the real bangle is the gold. Gold remains. The bangleness becomes nothing. That is true. That bangleness becomes nothing, the bangleness becomes nothing. Wherever you may put the stress, it is the same. But the bangle still remains as the gold because it was never different from gold. It was never away from gold. It was gold, it is gold, and the gold is gold. We take the example of a bangle like one of the states mathematically. Suppose gold plus bangle name and bangle form equal to bangle. Gold minus bangle name and bangle form equal to gold. Bangle name and bangle form minus gold equal to nothing? No, still it is gold. Even if reduce gold, still it is gold. You take out gold from the bangle, still it is gold. This is the mathematics. If you remove gold from the bangle, still the gold remains. Where did we learn this? That is the invocation mantra in many of the Upanishads. Purnasya purnam adaya purnam eva avashishyate. The Upanishad said, if you remove infinity from infinity, then also infinity only remains. Infinity minus infinity is equal to infinity. Infinity plus infinity, impossible. That means infinity minus infinity is infinity. So bangle minus gold is still gold. Cannot remove gold. Gold minus bangle is still gold. Similarly, infinity minus anything finite like name, form, utility will be still infinity. It does not make any sense at all whatsoever to think of an addition and alteration to or a subtraction from infinity. Okay? That is the news. Now we have advanced enough in our understanding. Let us apply it to our states. And that is the subject matter of this Upanishad. This revelation will help us to comprehend our own states and the stateness. You might have noticed that I am using the word like bangleness, realness, stateness. Let me explain it for your academic satisfaction. It is a must in using logic for debate and also propounding a rational philosophy. Why is this ness? Why don't you say bangle? Why don't you say real? Why don't you say state? Why all ness? Let me give you an example. There is a rule in logic that when you define a thing, your definition should not be too wide or too narrow. Suppose you are defining a cow. What is a cow? Too wide definition will be a definition which may include animals from other species. Like suppose you say a cow is a four-legged animal, a quadruped. Then your definition of cow will include all four-legged animals like a horse, lion, cat and so on. And too narrow definition means your definition may exclude animals from the same species. Like suppose you say a cow is a black color, four-legged animal. Then your definition of a cow will exclude all other cows which have different colors like white color and other red color. So you defined in a more rational way. Now you say a cow is a four-legged animal with a dewlap. Vame they call it. That is a fold of loose skin that is hanging from the neck or throat of a cow. The horse does not have, a donkey does not have, a lion does not have it. So now one more question needs to be solved. What about a calf of the cow? It does not have the dewlap. So the definition has to be changed. They did it with remarkable precision. And that is where this ness comes. They said, Golokam valavatvam gotvam. They did not define the cow, rather they defined cowness. Look at the logic. They did not define the cow, rather they defined cowness. Very important in spiritual life and in philosophy. They said cowness is the ability to have dewlapness. Cowness is the ability to have dewlapness. Or in other words, cowness is the potential of an animal to grow a dewlap. So, a calf has the potential to grow it, though it does not have that now. Therefore, a calf is a cow in the same species, not left out. So, the deciding factor of an animal, if it is a cow or not, will be how much of cowness is there in it. Then it is a cow. Similarly, we are all genetically animals. The similarity in human genome and different species is astoundingly close. The similarity of a human with another human being is 100%. 100% of the same genes in all humans, but in different sequences. But a human and a chimpanzee, a primate, has 98% similarity in genes, in genome. It is the closest living creatures to human beings. 98%. A mouse has got 92% similarity. A fruit fly has 44% similarity. Even insects, plants, they too have similarities genetically. Then how are we different from other animals in the animal kingdom and also from one another among us? How are we different? The scriptures say that it is called humanness. What is the deciding factor? It is said that in respect of our eating, drinking, sleeping, fear, merrymaking, and procreation or breeding, we are non-different from any other animal. The main humanness lies in our using our analytical faculty of our intellect to differentiate us from joining other species in the animal kingdom. A cow is a cow because of its cowness. A human being is a human being because of its humanness or humaneness. That makes so much difference between each one of us also. In the similar sense of using the suffix ness, as we have seen, we use the word consciousness. What a familiar word! How familiar it is! But why is it like that? Ness. We are all conscious, there is no doubt about it. A tree is also conscious, an animal is a conscious being. We too are conscious being. What is the difference then? So there is a thing called consciousness. We are all conscious, but consciousness is our nature of being conscious of our being conscious. This seems to be a riddle. Now let us go back to our sentence that we learned very early in our discussions. I know that I know you. I know that I know an apple. I am conscious that I am conscious of your existence. This I am conscious that. This conscious is consciousness. Consciousness. That is the ability which is not given to any other thing than consciousness. Being conscious means being able to use our analytical intellect of questioning and manifesting human qualities. This consciousness is the basis of our discussion in this Upanishad, particularly today. I am sorry for the lengthy detour. We come back to our discussion, this time about the states, and this time about Turya, or the consciousness behind everything and everything which is conscious also. Suppose if you remove your waking state, then you are not there. Can you accept the mathematical position that no waking state means no you? If that would be true, then you will be equal to waking state. If you remove your waking state, you are there. But if you remove you from your waking state, are you not there? And if you say you are not there, then waking state has gone and you have gone. So you are equal to your waking state. Then who will go to the dream state? Because you are equal to waking state. In dream state there is no waking state. Then what will happen? You are not available to have a dream. You are not available to enjoy deep sleep. So you cannot equate yourself with your waking state. Waking state is different. It is your waking state. As your waking state is not there in your dream state, so you will not be there in your dream state if you become or if you are equal to your waking state. Then who dreams, who sleeps, and who remembers them? Do you get the point? So it is proved that you are not equal to your states. So you cannot say that I am not there. The state may not be there, but you are there. You cannot say again, nothing is there. See? If you are there to say nothing is there, then what about you? Who is talking? You are this nothing? Then nothing has got a beautiful, nice material. This is not intricate logic. This is your mental confusion. The Upanishad is helping us to untie the knot. You are this Vishwa in the waking state. You are this consciousness. You are the Turya. You are Brahman here and now. You don't have to walk 10 kilometers to become Brahman. You don't have to wait for next year till 7th January to become Brahman. You cannot also say that the states, waking, dream and deep sleep, they remain. Then that will mean the name and form will remain, the stateness will remain. The states are gone, but you remain as the stateless self. We can say the permanent gold appears as temporary because of the temporary name and form. The permanent gold appears as temporary chain because of the temporary name and form of the chain. That is called chainness. Similar is the case with the ring, etc. We are busy with the bangle and slowly and conveniently forget that it is relative, it is temporary. We are busy with the waking state and slowly and conveniently we forget that this is relative, temporary. But what happens ultimately, you may forget that the bangle is temporary, But the bangle will not forget it. The bangle itself cannot forget it, that it is temporary. This is called Vastu Satyam, objective truth. It does not depend on your understanding. It is as it is, whether you know it or not. The nature and its products will follow their own dharma, truth, of being subject to creation and destruction. All objects in this world, they are objects because they are created. And they follow natural law of decay and death, extinction. The form will change. The law of preservation of energy, preservation of mass, all these things are true, but their forms are different. So whether we accept it or not, that the bangle is temporary, the bangle knows that it is temporary. The bangle will lose its shape, its name in course of time. That is the objective truth. Whether you know the states are unreal or temporary or not, they know that they are temporary because they follow the truth of the nature, changeful nature. So the equation will stand like the bangle minus the temporary bangleness is permanent gold. The chain minus the temporary chainness is permanent gold. The ring minus the temporary ringness is permanent gold. This permanent gold is called Turya gold. So Turya or gold is not identical with any one of them, not different from them. Clear? In the same way, Turya or the pure consciousness or Atman is permanent. But the waker, the dreamer and the sleeper are impermanent. They come and go. In order to know their impermanence, we do not need to have spiritual illumination. Our worldly experiences will prove the fact beyond doubt. But unfortunately, the doubt still lingers. They are temporary because the waker is available only in the waking state. In the dream state, there is no waker. In the dream state, there is another person called dreamer. And the sleeper is there in the sleep state. So the waker has to sleep when the dreamer wakes up. You may say it is the same person who is called the sleeper, the dreamer and the waker. That may be a good deduction. But then you have to define who is this person whom you call the same person. Then the same waker in the waking state itself has to go into deep sleep. This idea of the same person may be logical in respect of different experiences in the same state. As waker, I can have different experiences. Still, I know that I am the same waker. But not in different states. We have already checked this possibility in one of our earlier classes. The waker goes to sleep, then the dreamer wakes up in the dream world. So waker crosses the threshold of the sleep, and then the dreamer wakes up. There is no overlapping between them. The physical body is almost like a dead body during the dream or deep sleep. The waking body is almost like a dead body. Turya or the pure consciousness is permanent. And therefore it is different. Well, it is exactly different from all the three. the three states, and also from the waker, from the dreamer and the sleeper. At the same time, it is not away from all of them. It is different from Vishwa or the waker, different from Taijasa or the dreamer, different from Prajna or the sleeper, because when one is there, other two are not there. At the same time, it is not outside any one of them or all of them. It is different and at the same time non-different from the three. It is not the waker, at the same time the waker is never without it. So do you find out the Turya, the fourth? It is non-different, at the same time it is different. So when you think it is different, it can stay without the states, then it is called fourth, not the fourth state. And when you think that the states cannot stay without it, then it is not fourth. It is only Turya. So do you realize the Turya? Or how do you know Turya? The ever-existing pure consciousness. How to know it? The inner consciousness. How does self-realization happen? The first clue is that if a Vishwa or the waker is never without Turya or without consciousness, then consciousness is available in and through this Vishwa. Who is this Vishwa? Some mythical being? Some hypothetical proposition? No. You dear listener, your new name which you got in the last Mandukya Upanishad class, that is Vishwa. Well, if you are still awake, similarly, if the Taijasa, the dreamer, is never without Turya, then Turya is available in and through Taijasa and also in and through Prajna. As we have seen in the case of the bangle, if you remove the name and form of the bangle, then you get gold. Similarly, take the Vishwa, take the waker, take yourself, and remove the name and form and the utility value you have. You know what are our utility values? One person can be utilized as a father, as a mother, or as a sister, as a daughter, as a brother, as an uncle. Same person. Utility is different. So we have our name, form and utility values. Then what will you get? Take the Vishwa, the waker, and remove the name and form and utility, then what you get is consciousness. That's as simple as that. Not there but here, now. Not that time but now. The names and forms are our attributes, are upadhis. They are called the avasthas or states. The waking state is the Vishwaness of the Vishwa, the wakerness of the waker. Remove the name, form and utility, then what do you get? Turya, consciousness. Vishwa minus the attributes of Vishwa is consciousness, you, Turya. Contemplate on this. You will have the experience of millions of experiences within yourself. Just contemplate on that. Similarly, Taijasa minus the attributes of Taijasa is Turya. Prajna minus Prajna's upadhis is Turya. This Turya is the consciousness in its purest form. It is called fourth in comparison to the three states. It is not one of the four states because it is in all of them. Since Turya is available in all the three states, it is not a different state. Like waking state is not available in dream state. But Turya is available in all the states. Waking state is not available in dream state. That is why waking state is different state than dream state. But when Turya is available in all the three states, then Turya is not a state. No state can remain without Turya. Therefore, it is not a different state. It is not a state. A state is impermanent. Let me repeat it. A state is impermanent. Therefore, Turya, to become a real fourth, should be an impermanent state. And that is not true, because the Upanishad did not say so. And your experience does not say so. You claimed that it is the same person who is having the experiences of the three states. Yes, this is the same person, this Turya, but stateless. Again, it is surely different from all the three states because it exists even when there are no states there. But at the same time, we cannot say that it is exhausted with the three states. Now comes another argument. We are talking about three states. We are talking about gold appearing as bangle, as ring, as necklace, as if these are the only three ornaments this world has. No. The gold is there available for other ornaments also. This Turya is consciousness in all individuals, in the totality of the individuals, and also beyond them. Suppose you keep some small things on your table. Each thing has a part of table occupied by this thing, right? But at the same time, this thing is sitting on the whole table. Is it not correct? You have put your cell phone on the table. There is space, table space below the cell phone. So this cell phone occupies a part of the table. It is true. At the same time, I can say the cell phone is sitting on the whole table. But the table is not exhausted by the area occupied by the cell phone. Much more of the table remains beyond the scope of this cell phone. Consciousness is available with every one of us, but it is not limited by every one of us. It is beyond. It is available in and through every one of us. It is still beyond every one of us. The cell phone can remain on the table, but the table can remain without the cell phone. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, this creation occupies a small bit of my existence. That is infinite. Turya is different from the states means it is not exhausted in the states. The table is not exhausted by the presence of the cell phone. It exists much beyond the states. So it is inside the states, inside the cell phone and outside them also, stateless. That is why it is called the fourth. But it is uncountable. We have to do this analysis in the waking state when we are Vishwa, the waker. We have learnt or heard that in non-dual Vedanta, The realization happens here and now. And who is here and now? Who is available here and now? You. You, when you are in the waking state, you are able to have the scriptures to teach you. You are able to have a guru to teach you. At that state itself, it is very much possible to get self-realization. You don't have to go to any state, even you don't have to go to any samadhi state. One becomes Brahman here and now. Otherwise, what will happen? We will come to that argument. If it is not like that, what will happen? So here and now one will become stateless. One will lose all names and form and all attributes, all CVs, all houses, all cars, etc. Here and now. It is not that you are going to lose your licenses, everything. But you will know the unreality or relativity in them. In the place where you are and at the time when you are. What I am going to tell you is that I am giving you this self-realization that you are Brahman here and now. Don't worry. It will be a theoretical realization. You will be as you are now, the same Vishwa with your name, with your CV, your car, bank balance, everything intact. You have to own it by your own effort. Then actual realization will happen. Well, should I lose my house, my bank account, my car, etc. after realization here and now? That is a suspense. The Upanishad will deal with that. And we have come to the end of our class now. So let the suspense remain. We will deal with that next time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation. It is always inspiring to have you and to go so deep inside the scriptures and bring out the gems from that.